With me now to break it all down, Republican strategist and American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp. All right, good evening, Matt. Will Carly Fiorina's performance in Thursday's 5 p.m. debate vault her into the top 10?
Absolutely. She's going to get there. She gave the strongest performance of any candidate on either stage that day. She owned that 5 o'clock debate, and I think everybody's rooting for her.
Okay. Now, Matt, you were in the audience that night.
That's right.
Can you tell us things that we may not have seen, on television? Well, let's talk about this. When the audience goes crazy, whether it's positive or negative, how do you think that impacts the candidates? Do they even hear it? Does it affect their confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, probably the most noise of the night, I think we all realize that Republicans don't like Rosie O'Donnell. That was a huge uproar at that moment. And I think, you could really see the candidates looking at their families to get reassurance, to make sure that everything was going well. It's an interesting dynamic to actually be in that hall and hear it and watch it.
When you say that, Matt, it reminds me of myself when I was in debates, when I was running for office. I mean, you try to make eye contact with, your campaign manager. It's almost like, can you tell me how I'm doing? So you saw that same kind of thing in a presidential debate, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the family members, the other way around, it was a combination of them trying to put a smile on and look confident, but part of them just they were ready to run to the restroom. They were upset to their stomach. But it's quite an interesting personal dynamic to watch.
Okay, I'm sure it is. What can we expect from these candidates between now and the next debate?
I think what you can expect from these candidates is that a sharper focus on how they're going to take on the Obama agenda. Really, this whole campaign, Judge, is about a third Obama term and all these Obama policies, which Hillary Clinton has just already told us she's going to rubber stamp and go even further to the left. These Republican candidates are only going to distinguish themselves if they say how hard they're going to fight on that agenda and what they stand for. That's the next stage that we're going into. All
right. You were there, Matt, during the breaks when we couldn't see what was going on.
Right.
So when, the cameras were kind of off or we couldn't see it, what were the candidates like with each other? Were they interacting? Were they uncomfortable? Were they going like this under the tie?
In the beginning, I think a lot of them were tight and they were a little nervous at the first break. It just seemed that way. They were a little, they were more to themselves. But as the event went on, there was a lot of laughter, a lot of kidding around. They actually walked around,
Really?
quite a way on the stage to talk to folks. Trump and Governor Bush talked, and Governor Bush gave Marco Rubio a big hug, and you could even see about 3/4 into the debate, even Trump kind of reached out to Governor Bush and said something about how he's starting to have warm feelings about this guy. So hopefully this is going to have a tonic on this race.
Well, what about the Chris Christie and the Rand Paul? I mean, that was just shy of a out-and-out duke out on the stage. They were a ways from each other on the stage, right?
Yeah, they were like basically on opposite sides at the stage, and I think each one had a strategy that said, because the further out you were on the stage, the worse you were doing in the polls, and I think they both came onto that stage saying, I got to get into a fight with someone. They just decided to get in a fight with each other, which is kind of interesting because both of them now are on that bubble. Do they make that next main stage debate?
All right, Matt Schlapp, thanks so much for being with us tonight, Matt.
Thanks, Judge.
All right.